Assalamualaikum, Sobat Bola.com dari Sabang sampai Merauke. Alhamdulillah kita bisa kembali menyapa kalian semua dalam program Lebih Dekat, yaitu sebuah sajian eksklusif dengan mengundang sosok-sosok inspirasional dari dunia olahraga. Dan pada kesempatan langka ini, Bola.com kedatangan narasumber yang sangat spesial buat saya pribadi dan mungkin buat bagi bagi banyak orang ya di luar sana. Beliau itu adalah striker, pemain sepak bola, striker yang dikenal ganas di kotak penalti. Kemudian beliau juga merajai sepak bola Indonesia pada 1990-an. Kemudian masyarakat Indonesia juga saat itu sangat mengidolai bintang yang satu ini. Jadi pria dari Eropa ini sekarang merupakan pelatih sepak bola. Sangat berprestasi dia juga. Apalagi gelarnya yaitu diploma kepelatihan profesional. Terus dia juga punya gelar magister manajemen olahraga. Kemudian catatan keberhasilannya juga terbukti dalam melatih sepak bola di klub dan juga di level asosiasi atau level nasional, skala nasional ya. Nah, memanfaatkan pengalaman lebih dari 30 tahun sebagai olahragawan internasional dan profesional di Eropa, Amerika Utara, di Asia dan Oseania, itu akhirnya memberikan hal-hal positif gitu buat bagi pemain yang ini, bagi mantan pemain ini. Nah, siapa sih narasumber atau bintang tamu kita hari ini? Mari kita sapa bareng-bareng, yaitu adalah Coach Dejan Gluscevic. Halo, apa kabar Coach? How are you?
Kasih dan selamat sore semuanya dan terima kasih telah menerima saya.
Ya,
Bagaimana
jadi
pengingat Indonesia mengingat saya sebagai pencetak gol terbanyak dan juara pada tahun 1996 dan juga pemain asing terpopuler dengan suara terbanyak dalam 3 pertandingan perang bintang.
oh iya 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 iya. Jadi Coach Dajan kabar sekarang baik ya. How are you doing, Coach?
Oh, saya selalu adalah baik, tapi saya tidak bicara bahasa Indonesia sudah lama dan lebih baik itu bahasa Inggris sekarang.
Oke. We will speak in English. Sorry, so we can
Terima kasih.
understand it.
Minta maaf saya.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Legend cannot say sorry. Legend cannot say sorry. So, jadi teman-teman bola.com kita hari ini akan berbincang lebih lanjut ya mengenai karir Dejan Gluscevic. Is it Dejan Gluscevic or Dejan Gluscevic? How do you spell the name?
Uh, Dejan Gluscevic is
Oh,
right and correct pronunciation.
Dejan Dejan Gluscevic. Okay. Maybe probably a lot of our newest generation haven't known about who Dejan Gluscevic is. Can you tell us the story shortly about your career of your footballing career to bola.com viewers, coach?
Story is well known as Indonesia and the former Yugoslavia are brotherly and non-aligned country that experience similar problems. I spent 4 years in Indonesia and I witnessed a very same problem in your country. And as one of the talented player, instead of having a big career in Europe because of competition was suspended, I could be only transferred to a friendly country, as happened to me when competition in Indonesia was suspended as well in '98. So if you remember your coaches of national team, Tony Pogacnik, Ivan Toplak, and Selmir Milosevic, contributed to development of football in Indonesia, and their recommendation were, if you remember, tallest player, Božović Miodrag, then Bajovic Miodrag was the fastest player, and I became the most efficient player in Indonesia according to the number of the matches played.
Ya, nah jadi sobat bola.com Dejan Gluscevic ini merupakan dulu striker ganas ya, dan dia tadi cerita sudah ada 4 tahun dia main bola di Indonesia, dan ternyata dia tadi menyebut ada nama Pogacnik. Pogacnik itu dia dulu pelatih timnas Indonesia yang apa namanya ya dikenal galak, kemudian apalagi disiplinnya tinggi, dan itu ternyata yang membuat apa, yang membuat seorang Dejan Gluscevic itu tertarik untuk datang ke Indonesia gitu. So, Coach Dejan, what actually made you interested to join, to come to Indonesia and play football? Did you do some research about football in here or not?
Um, uh, Tony Pogachnik was the very first, and I think he's buried in Bali because I'm visiting his grave whenever I came over there.
Okay.
Toplak was even a national team coach here in Serbia, and as I said, we were recommended by Selmir Milosevic. We didn't have very much time to investigate football in Asia or Indonesia as of political turbulences in our country. So after recommendation of the then, I believe, champion, Selmir Milosevic with Pelita Jaya, Božović, Bajović, and myself got transferred to Indonesia. So not very much time to find out about the football. Basically, we were forced to leave our competition. As I said, similar situation was in 1998 when I was forced to leave Indonesia. And to correct you, I didn't play in Indonesia for 4 years, but 3.5.
Oh,
So
yeah.
therefore, it is even bigger because I score about 75 goals for 3.5 seasons. And mostly is that I have a most assists of all foreign players.
Oh, in one season.
Yes.
Oh, in one season.
The most difficult time for me was when Yugoslav trio separated. It was in 1995. And I agreed to go to newly formed club in Bandung to prove them wrong. I was proud when I won a Golden Boot. I received the most votes from the fan and foreign player for the All-Star games. And I made many people happy because of my work and the success.
Okay. So you actually you have sweet memories in Indonesia. Why did you finally decide to go to another competition, not to stay in Indonesia, Coach Dejan? Maybe you can explain to us.
Of course, I had a sweet memory because I became a top scorer and Indonesian champion. But most of it, I enjoy my time over there because of friendly people, because of little Dejan, actually baby at the time that got the name after me. And nowadays you have Dejan FC Football Club from Depok. So I really had a good memory, and I'm happy that people appreciate and respect what I did as the player over there. And I really hope I will get an opportunity to repeat the very same as the coach.
Okay. So you know that there is a club in Indonesia named Dejan FC. They play in Liga 3 in Indonesia, and uh, about we're talking about the legendary stadiums. We know that Dejan Gluscevic have played used to play in Stadion Lebak Bulus and Siliwangi. What do you think the most special things about those two stadiums, Coach Dejan?
Yeah. First, I have to correct you.
Okay.
Dejan Football Club is playing in second division. They
Second division.
qualify.
Okay.
So
Yeah, they have qualified. They have qualified.
all little Dayans, some of them are really good footballers, and I also follow and supporting Dayan Football Club from Depok. As for Siliwangi and the Lebak Bulus, those are legendary field, and I used to live nearby, and they were my second home. Um, I scored goals against direct competitors and had the fans of all teams chant my name even when I score against their team. I also play international matches in the Champions Cup and Asian Cup, Winners' Cup at both of stadium. So I really have a good memory from Siliwangi, Lebak Bulus, and I play final tournament at Senayan. Of course, it's a highest level of competition, but as I said, Siliwangi and the Lebak Bulus were my second home. And whenever I go back to Indonesia, I'm visiting these two stadiums.
Okay. About Lebak Bulus Stadium, it actually have been demolished. To did you know that it was demolished, and the government of Jakarta created LRT. LRT is like a train station across Jakarta. It's so sad for us because beside Lebak Bulus, there is also Menteng Stadium. Menteng Stadium has been also demolished, so it's really sad time for football fans in Jakarta. Okay, next question, Dejan. So who is Dejan Gluscevic now?
Um, as a coach, I was a Canadian game champion, and I was also named Canadian Professional League Soccer Coach of the Year. At the FIFA Under 20 World Cup, the VAR system was used for the very first time in my game. And I was the only coach at the World Championship to play with all registered players, including all three goalkeepers. It is interesting that I'm the one of the very few coaches who has successfully coached youth and senior, men's and women teams and clubs in associations. So I used to work in very different environment, and most important things, I was successful with all different teams, even different gender, and even in clubs and associations.
So you are very successful, fortunately, as a coach. But after all, the success that you have, what does Dejan Gluscevic want to achieve after this?
I consider myself successful because I prove myself in players development and in competition. So as I said, I was successful on different level, but now I am accomplished parent, former soccer player, and successful coach who has already prepared himself to continue contributing in the field of sport management after completing my coaching career. So I don't know if you are aware, but in 1998, I attended a very first coaching course in Indonesia. And I continue my education during my playing time. And when I stopped playing in 2002, I was already prepared, a license, and experience in coaching. So basically, I think I did everything according to my plan. Even now, when I'm still coaching, I prepare myself for the next function, for next role as a sport manager, or I will definitely be ready when I move off the field.
So I heard that you also coached Vanuatu under 20 in World Cup under 20. Can you explain to us a little bit more about your experience to bola.com?
Yes, I used to coach Vanuatu team at the FIFA World Cup, and we were most efficient team in a group, scoring even more goals than Germany and Mexico. We lost 3-2 against Germany, 3-2 against Mexico, but we scored more goals because association goal was to promote football in Oceania and also to expose the player. So I became the only coach in the world that used to field all registered players, including 3 goalkeepers.
Okay. So talking about Indonesian football, Coach Dejan, do you follow any football development in Indonesian football at the time for now?
Of course, I follow competition in all countries that I used to work, and especially where there are opportunity to work again. And now new technology is helping me a lot in that regard. So maybe you don't know that I was helping Indonesian coaches in the international game because I was a very first that used Y Scout, Instat, and later on Hoodle, and so on. So um, in that regard, I'm thankful that we got a new technology that in a real time allow us to watch games, get statistics, and all important information for a coaching job.
So you must remember the tragedi Kanjuruhan in 2022. Can you share your thoughts? Apakah Dejan punya thoughts tentang tragedi tersebut? Mungkin Coach Dejan mau berbicara soal itu.
I express my condolences to Football Association and all family at the time, and I'm really sorry that it happened. But as I highlight in my um, master work, all those facts about Indonesia are well known, so it was predictable. I remember playing at the Senayan Stadium was overcrowded. I remember passion of those fans. So those are all elements that should be considered when organize a game.
Yeah.
So there's responsibility to be taken, but I wasn't surprised as at the time and that stadium we didn't have an international standards. So I'm really sorry that it's happened, and I hope that all these new properties and stadium that are built will be according to the worldwide standard and especially FIFA standard. So it will be helpful to the players, coaches, management, and spectators as well.
Nah, sobatbola.com tadi itu cerita banyak banget ya mengenai prestasi, kemudian mengenai apa namanya tanggapan atau respon Coach Dejan soal tragedi Kanjuruhan. Terus ternyata dia masih memfollow berita-berita soal sepak bola di Indonesia gitu. Nah, sekarang saya mau coba cari atau menggali lebih dalam mengenai kenangan-kenangan manisnya si Coach Dejan selama di Indonesia. Jadi, so Coach Dejan, saya coba mau pakai bahasa Indonesia boleh ya? Ketika Anda pertama kali tiba atau mendarat di Indonesia, apa yang langsung terlintas di benak Anda? Coach Dejan boleh pakai bahasa Inggris menjawabnya, Coach.
Terima kasih. But I didn't see very much at the first sight because after a long journey and a big time difference, we were greeted by high temperatures, and our adaptation was a priority. So I thought mostly of what to eat and how to sleep because we were flying more than 15 hours, and we had step over at the airports, and it was, I believe, one of the longest journey I had in my life because I used to be a top scorer in Yugoslav second division. At the time, I play in Yugoslav Tier 1 competition, and I moved to Indonesia very soon. I think as soon as competition stopped, we got recommended and we got transferred very fast that we didn't have the time to prepare ourselves. So, as I said, we didn't see very much, and our priority was adaptation to the weather, culture, and especially to the new training methodology.
So, what do you think about the infrastructure that your club had when you first arrived in Indonesia? Were you surprised, or were you amazed? What do you think about the infrastructure, the training ground, and the football overall in Indonesia?
It was very new to us. We were very surprised, and we needed time to adapt. But as I said, it was a cultural challenge as three of us, professionals and adult, we live together. We in one house. We had to travel at least an hour every day to the training and another back. And then if you have a training for a few hours in a like 35 degrees, it was not really amazing. And a training center was different than European one, and competition were under the other standard, and the stadium were different. Everything was different, and we really needed time to adapt to all situation. And no, we weren't impressed by facilities, but I'm very happy that it changed for the better, and that now everything is standardized, and you have top stadiums and the facilities in Asia now.
Okay. So, of course, you played alongside many legends in Indonesia, and including Kurniawan Dwi Yulianto and also Perry Sandria. What do you think those two players for you, Kurniawan and Perry Sandria, are they that good or similar kind of play with you or not?
That's a very good question, because now when I'm a coach and I got hired by employee, mostly they hire me for my ability to transform. So I can coach any team, I can coach any player, and I was very similar as a player. So I was considered as adaptable player who contribute to the better performance of my teammates. So it's interesting you mentioned Kurniawan, but in Pelita Jaya I was very effective with Ansari Lubis and Buyung Gismu. Then in Bandung Raya with Taja Sudrajat and Perry Sandria. Then finally, before competition was stopped, I was compact and successful with Kurniawan, Bima Sakti, and all other players. Because of our qualities, we mean a lot to each other in terms of disturbing the opponent sometimes with a movement to make room for teammates. So as I said, I'm adaptable player, but I'm also known as efficient, which means I'm scoring a lot of goals and I'm assisting for the goals. And therefore, every time local player from my team was a top scorer, including Kurniawan.
Including Kurniawan. So you wanted to say that not only that you are good at scoring goals, but also good in assisting. Is it what you want to say, Coach Dejan?
Yes, that's I believe a main reason that beside I'm attractive player and a complete player, I think that was the main reason that I got employed by many clubs. As I said, I'm adaptable, attractive, and efficient. I was a prototype for a modern center for a center forward at the time. So to me, all my teammates were important, but I don't remember if any duo has scored as many goals as me and Perry scored in just 2 seasons that we were playing together. So I think beside the other forward that I used to play with, Perry Sandria and myself, I think we score as a top scorer, we score over 100 goals.
That's amazing.
So I do believe that that prove this thesis about my contribution to the team I used to play for.
Coach, next question. In mid 90s, there are a lot of parents that gave their children the name Dejan in front of it. What do you respond? What are your response to to see that like something that happened?
I respect them very much, and I didn't very much analyze why this happened because I was just doing my job as best as I could. But basically, I think little Dejan's parents were impressed with my professionalism and dedication to proving my worth. I was responsible and honest in my work on and off the field, and I became idol of many people, some of whom had named their children after me because they were happy time, and I hope that their children will have a kind of character and success that I had. So basically, I think most of the children that got named after me were born during the time I used to play Indonesia. So from 1994 to 1998 and later. So I'm in touch with all people that are named after me, and I wish them health, happiness, and success. But what is interesting is that now we have a football club Dejan from Depok, and some of little Dejan have become very successful professionals, and a few of them are even a very good football players. So what I'm trying to say, little Dejan will forever remain a part of my family, and the greatest satisfaction in my work is done by their parents, and that's why I'm always happy when I see them, and I wish them all the best in their life. I mean, their parents honor me maybe the most of all in my life.
Okay. Uh, in your social media accounts, especially Facebook, you always interact with fans from Indonesia. Is that how you connect to your fans in Indonesia and as a form of love that you do for Indonesia?
Thank you for the question, because I use social media as my diary, but I have a work on several continents, and the social network helping me very much to stay in touch with the people who appreciate my work and support me to become better at what I do. So it makes sense that I return their love and respect in that way also, because I must say that I might not be performing that well if I didn't have a honest support from my fan, who later on became my friend and even part of the family. So yes, I use the social networks because of time differences as well to keep in touch with all my friends all around the world.
Coach Dean, apakah Anda masih mengikuti perkembangan sepak bola Indonesia belakang ini? Apakah do you still follow any Indonesian football development in Timnas and competition Liga 1, Liga 1?
Of course, I follow the Indonesian clubs and national team because, Grega, I plan to repeat the success I experienced as a player in Indonesia, this time as a coach. So I follow even a second division because of DNFC. I follow Indonesian Tier 1 competition because I'm professional coach. But I follow especially national team because I must tell you that national team success and international success of Indonesian football is also success of me and all of us that used to play in Indonesia.
Are there any Indonesian player in Timnas that menarik perhatian Dejan that you think, oh, this is going to be a good player for Indonesia one time? And who is the best Indonesian football player as for now?
I must admit, Indonesians are talented footballers, and many of them deserve international careers even during my time. I compete against Indonesian under 19 team and also took part in qualifying tournament in Surabaya with the Singapore national team. And I have a broad insight into development of Indonesian football and talented footballers. I think there is still room to improve. But as I said, Indonesia is a huge country and have what is most important, a large base of the talented players. And I think that you have to adopt more in best way, develop player, coaches, and the manager in order to get quality competition. Because, as I said, a huge country with a large base of the player must have own model of player development. I used to work with several associations, and they all have their own model. But what distracts me in Asia is that some national team having national coaches that are paid by other association, and I was stunned when I learned about it, because mostly you competing against countries from region. So to me, you have to get the focus and develop your own players, coaches, and the manager in order to get the quality competition. And later on, you're going to have results on international level, including clubs and national team, of course.
So, of course, you know that Timnas Indonesia is now being coached by Shin Tae-yong, South Korean coach. So, in your view as a coach from Europe, what do you think the differences between the coach in Asia and Europe, Coach Dejan?
It's a difficult because to answer the question, because I respect all my colleagues, but of course there are differences, and I explained that in my scientific work. It is very important that the quality of European competition influences methodology and style of play, and especially development of the coaches in the way of making decision. So what I'm trying to say, even thinking is very different in Europe because of high quality competition, and in Asia. There is also cultural differences. Even when I used to play, there was some culture that, you don't want to offend the other people and so on. And then you find yourself in arena playing a sport and competing against people that you don't want to offend. So what I'm trying to say, there are differences, but I know the coach of Indonesia national team because he was my opponent in the Champions Cup in 1994. And as a player, and in the World Cup in South Korea, he was, I believe, assistant coach while I coach Vanuatu, but we didn't play against each other. I'm just trying to compare our career. So I did compete for reputation of Indonesia. At the time, he competed for South Korea as a player. And now as a coach, I compete for reputation of Oceania and Vanuatu, and he compete for South Korea again. So basically, I wish him every success, but I would challenge a choice of association that should invest into the original model of the competition organization, of the players and coaches and manager development, and of their own future. Because it's a little bit difficult, regardless of who your coach. If you have a coach from the region within your staff, because at the end of the day, he will become your opponent in future competitions.
Okay, so coach, of course you are interested to come back to Indonesia as a coach. And what is it that you try to offer to Indonesian football, to many clubs in Indonesia if you really come to Indonesia as a coach one day?
I never left Indonesia, Gregor.
Excuse me?
I
Pardon?
left Indonesia. My heart is still there.
Oh
I
yes.
Indonesia many times, but
Okay.
now I'm experienced and in the best age to contribute to the success of Indonesian football, especially since I speak the language, I know the culture and sport in Indonesia, and I hope after the success I had as a football player, I will have the opportunity to contribute this time as a coach or later on as a sport director as well in Indonesia. So let me just remind you one thing. Indonesia is the fourth most populous country in the world. And as I conclude in my academic work, in my project that I sent to my Indonesian friends already to give them an idea of how should they organize your football over there. It should devote itself to development and especially human resources in order to develop the quality of its clubs, league, and national team. So this is what I elaborate when I said about that you have to invest into human resources because you are a huge country with a lot of talents over there, and you shouldn't follow the other models. You should create your own model for football development. And I even wrote the book in order to help you. But if anyone from Indonesia need more insight, I will be more than happy to help them. Like in this conversation, I don't mind to share my experience and my opinion. So everything else is a populist solution with the short-term goals, especially if it's done in cooperation with competing countries from the region. So you cannot just say, with due respect, Japan is good, let's do like Japan, or Korea is successful, let's do like Korea. I wish them all the best, but you have to create your own model. And in order to do that, you have to use people that understand your culture, that understand your sport, that understand the entire situation within your beautiful country. So all those factors should be anticipated in creating your model for football development. So not only copy-paste solution.
Jadi gitu ya teman-teman, bola.com banyak sekali saran dari Dejan Gluscevic, kemudian pengalaman-pengalaman dia itu sering melakukan segalanya by science. Jadi selalu dia lakukan itu apa namanya? Scientifically harus proven scientifically, dan dia setelah melakukan, dia bikin banyak disertasi, dia bikin banyak tesis soal sepak bola, dan kebetulan banget Coach Dejan Gluscevic ini tertarik nih, pingin nih untuk berkarir di Indonesia, entah itu sebagai coach, entah itu sebagai sporting director, dan itu bakal jadi sesuatu yang manis ya buat klub-klub di Indonesia gitu. Sayangnya nih, unfortunately, Dejan, Mas Trans Bandung Raya and Pelita Jaya is no longer existing in Indonesian football pyramid gitu. But it's okay lah. The steps that you made in Indonesia already been a legacy in Indonesia. So hopefully that your career, what you want to achieve in the next few years, will happen, and hopefully it will happen in Indonesia somehow. I don't know how, but hopefully we can see another Dejan Gluscevic karir in Indonesia. So thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak for your time, Dejan Gluscevic. Hopefully kalau Dejan lagi di Indonesia bisa kabar-kabar ke kita. Selalu saya di Jakarta, Coach Dejan di mana di Indonesia?
Let me just make a point. I think Indonesia has a great potential, and the most important thing is to focus on personal quality and managing its football potential. I have prepared and published a scientific paper about under the title Comparative Analysis of European and Asian Football, in which I compare the most successful and most populous football confederation like Europe and Asia. And I admit that my 10 years of experience and knowledge of language and culture in Asia contributed to the quality of the conclusion in my work. So basically, I didn't think, I didn't discuss, I didn't suggest only, I wrote it. So what I experienced over there, my 10 years, I put in a work and I printed out for everyone that is interested in it.
Demikian sobat-sobat bola.com wawancara dengan Dejan Gluscevic. Itu sebuah kehormatan buat saya, buat bola.com bisa mewawancara seorang legenda, seorang striker legendaris yang rekornya itu sulit dipatahkan ya, bahkan sampai berapa, 1 dekade, 2 dekade lebih, bahkan hampir 3 dekade itu akan sulit untuk dipecahkan rekor yang dibuat oleh Dejan. Banyak sekali kontribusi dari Dejan Gluscevic dan ya kita sangat berterima kasih. Mungkin ada yang mau disampaikan lagi, Coach Dejan?
Semoga saya bisa kembali mungkin tahun ini dibantu sepak bola Indonesia, kali ini sebagai pelatih dan nanti mungkin sebagai direktur olahraga
Ya.
atau in any other way possible. So
Ya.
I'm willing to help, and I really hope I will get back to Indonesia again to finish what I started before.
Finish what you have started before in 90s. Oke. Terima kasih Coach Dean atas waktunya. Eh, Silakan lanjutkan kesibukan Coach Dean dan semoga sehat selalu. Salam buat keluarga di sana.
Ya, sampai jumpa lagi.
Sampai jumpa Coach Dean. Sepak bola jaya.
Ya, maju sepak bola.